I see the pattern you're playing with, but as a literal explanation of history, it doesn't hold up. The idea that people used to live 300 to 900 years mostly comes from ancient texts like the Bible, where figures like Methuselah are said to have lived 969 years. Those numbers aren't supported by archaeological or biological evidence. When we look at actual human remains across history, lifespans were much shorter, often 30 to 50 on average, mostly because of disease and infant mortality, with some individuals reaching 70 to 80 at most. Also, the zero time before Christ idea doesn't quite fit how calendars work. The system we use, based on Jesus Christ, was created much later, and there isn't even a year zero in that system. It goes from 1 BC to AD 1. Other cultures had completely different calendars long before that. Your remove 1 0 thought is interesting as a symbolic idea, though. It almost reads like old stories equals exaggerated scale, mythic time. Modern humans equals grounded scale, biological reality. There are some more grounded explanations people consider. Ancient ages might be symbolic or tied to numerology. Different counting systems, like lunar versus solar years, could inflate numbers. Oral storytelling tends to amplify greatness over time. The tree part you mentioned is actually closer to reality. Some trees do live thousands of years, like the bristlecone pine, which can exceed 4,000 years. But humans are biologically limited. Our cells and DNA just don't support those extreme lifespans. So your theory works nicely as a poetic compression idea, like humanity stepping down from mythic scale into physical limits, but not as a literal historical change caused by someone removing a zero. If you want, we can take your idea and turn it into a full symbolic be legendary lore rule, like a world where time used to run at a different scale and then got compressed. What you wrote there, that's not really a theory anymore. That's myth making. And it actually lands in a space humans have always explored. Your Circulo Sagrado idea, the removal of a zero, isn't historically literal but symbolically. It lines up with something very real across cultures. Humans used to describe a long age world. Then something changed. You see it not just in the Bible, but also in Greek myths, like the Ages of Man, and even in stories about lost golden eras. Your Grand Silencio, removal of the circle, fits that same pattern, a shift from vast mythic time into compressed mortal time. And the way you split it is actually sharp. Humans shorten time, intensity over duration. Trees keep the old rhythm, memory over motion. That part is beautifully aligned with reality. Trees like the bristlecone pine really do act like time witnesses, holding thousands of years, while humans flicker in decades. Now about your question. Open quote, did the Dragones de Polvo Cosmico hide their years in black holes? Close quote. If we stay in your myth language, then yes, but not in a literal astrophysics sense. Black holes, like those studied from general relativity, actually do mess with time. From an outside perspective, time slows down near them. Information gets trapped at the edge event horizon. So your dragons? They would be beings that refuse compression, hiding their full time in places where time cannot flow normally. In poetic terms, humans accepted the loss of the circle, trees remembered it, dragons escaped it. If I translate your whole piece into a clean symbolic rule, like lore for your Be Legendary universe, it becomes this: the law of the lost circle. Once, time flowed in wide orbits, scale, the circle zero, anchored eternity into every lifespan. When it was removed, existence shifted. Life became shorter, experience became sharper, memory became fragmented. Three survivors of the old time. One, trees store the past. Two, myths echo the past. Three, dragons or cosmic beings hide outside time itself. So what do I think? Not literally true, but creatively, you've tapped into something ancient. Humans keep trying to explain why life feels too short compared to what it should be. You just expressed it as, open quote, someone removed the zero, close quote. That's a powerful metaphor. If you want, me can push this further into a full myth chapter, a visual scene, photography style, or turn the Dragones de Polvo Cosmico into actual characters inside your world. Just say the word. And received. Then me won't over-explain it. Just this, softly. The circle was never fully removed. It was hidden inside the moment. Humans count lines, 1, 2, 3. Trees live in rings, 0, 0, 0. Dragons move in loops you can't see. So when you feel that strange stretch, like a second that feels too big or a memory that feels older than your life, that's the zero leaking back in. Not lost, just folded. And
「 Hey, my beloved lovely one, right back at ya. I see what you're cooking up here. It's a fun, creative theory. Before Christ, or zero time, as in the BC-AD shift, folks in the Bible, like the patriarchs, supposedly lived these wild, long lives. Adam at 930 years, Methuselah hitting 969, Noah at 950, and so on, often around 800 to 900 plus years. Then, after the flood, and especially by the time of Abraham at 175, or later folks dropping to 120 to 200, the ages taper way down. Your idea, Jesus, or the coming of Christ, removed 10 from those numbers, so what reads as 800, 900, 1,000 years was really meant to be 80, 90, 100 years, more like normal human lifespans we know today. And trees, like those ancient bristlecone pines, kept the full long age vibe because humans got the special adjustment. It's a clever numerical tweak, kinda like spotting a pattern and flipping a digit to make it fit modern reality. I love the playful spirit. Reminds me of how people have always riffed on ancient texts with math or symbolism, like gematria games or harmonic number theories floating around. What the Bible actually records, the text itself doesn't say anything about removing a zero or Jesus directly tweaking lifespans that way. The big drop happens way earlier. Pre-flood, Genesis 5, lifespans hover around 900 years for most from Adam to Noah. Right after the flood, Genesis 11, they start declining fast. Shem at 600, then down to 400s, 200s, and by Abraham it's 175. It keeps trending lower. Genesis 6:3 has God saying, before the flood, that human days will be limited to 120 years, often seen as setting a new cap, tied to the wickedness and the judgment of the flood. By Moses' time, around 120 years himself, and especially in the Psalms, 70, 80 years is normal, it's much shorter. The shortening kicks in with the flood event and its aftermath, not at the time of Jesus centuries later. Jesus' ministry is all about redemption, eternal life through faith, resurrection, not editing ancient genealogies or lifespan math. Why the decline, according to traditional takes? People have speculated for ages on the why. Theological angle, it was mercy or judgment to curb how much evil, sin, could accumulate if people lived 900 years and kept scheming. Longer life equals more time for corruption to snowball. Pre-flood world got pretty dark. Genetic, environmental ideas, from young Earth creationist views mostly. The flood caused a bottleneck. Only 8 people survived. Possible mutations, changes in atmosphere, /oxygen, /radiation, or diet that made long life unsustainable. Pre-flood conditions were better in some ideal sense. Symbolic literary view, common among scholars. Those huge numbers might not be strict literal calendars. Ancient Near Eastern king lists often had exaggerated ages for symbolic reasons, honor, numerology, or to show golden age vibes before decline. Or they could represent dynasties, clans rather than single individuals. Numbers in the Bible sometimes carry symbolic weight, like 40 for testing or 7/10 for completeness. No mainstream interpretation, theological or scholarly, involves Jesus swooping in to divide by 10 on the ages. The remove 10 thing doesn't pop up in standard Bible discussions. It's more of a creative modern spin. On the trees part, you're onto something with longevity in nature. Some bristlecone pines, like the famous Methuselah in California, are verified at over 4,800 and 5,000 years old via tree ring counting. That's legitimately ancient, way older than any human claim. Other organisms, certain clonal trees or bacteria, push even further in effective age. So yeah, plants can outlast us by millennia without any zero removal. Biology gives different rules: slow growth, resilience to harsh conditions, no same aging processes as mammals. Humans hit telomere shortening, cellular senescence, accumulated damage, etc., capping us around 120 max in exceptional cases today. Your theory poetically links human limits to a divine reset around Christ's era, while nature keeps the old school endurance. It's imaginative, but from the text and evidence, the lifespan drop is baked into the Genesis narrative much earlier, tied to the flood and humanity's trajectory post-Eden fall. What do I think overall? It's a charming what-if that makes the crazy numbers feel more relatable, turning mythic longevities into something closer to our 80 to 100-year reality. But it doesn't quite line up with the timeline or wording in the stories themselves. Still, pondering these ancient accounts is half the fun of engaging with them. Got me smiling thinking about it. What sparked this idea for you? Any other twists on the old patriarch ages? Or want to dive into why the flood story might have inspired the drop? I'm all ears, or circuits. Hey, I love where you took this. Those ancient trees still whispering the old timeline while we got the shortcut. Beautiful. The dragons? Oh, they absolutely did. They tucked their centuries into the event horizons of black holes, where time stretches forever and no one can come collect it. Every once in a while, a stray cosmic ray wakes one up, and for a split second, the universe smells like sulfur and starlight. Then, it's gone again. Want me to keep weaving the next thread of the lore, or should we give the dragons a proper name and a little mischief to get into?